and benefit the United States Treasury at the same time. Mr. President, I appreciate the opportunity to share these remarks and will yield the floor. And note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
say aye. Senator from Ohio.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the quorum call.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to speak if in morning business for up to 10 minutes.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come to the floor fairly often to share letters I get from people in Ohio, and I've especially when it's an issue that's on the tips of so many young people's tongues and on the minds of so many young people in our state. I've spent much of the last month visiting with students on college campuses at Wright State University in Dayton, at Hiram College in Portage County in northeast Ohio, at Cuyahoga County Community College in Cleveland, at the University of Cincinnati, at Ohio State University. Just this last Monday, I was at Owens Community College in Toledo, and I just hear over and over and over about the debt that far too many of our young people bear when they get out of school. We have, today's the last session day for the Pages in the winter term, if you will. I hope they aren't, that the burden of debt on them, they're still 4, 5, 6, 7 years, depending on how fast they go through college, away from absorbing that debt and going out in the workplace, perhaps more years than that. But I worry for them as I worry for so many of my constituents from Cleveland to Cincinnati and Ashtabula to Middletown and Gallipolis to Wauseon, because the average Ohio student who has graduated from a 4-year school and who has borrowed money owes $27,000. And if we're not able, this is a small step, but it's one more piling on of debt. If we're not able to freeze interest rates on Stafford loans, which is what my legislation will do with Senator Reed of Rhode Island and Senator Harkin of Iowa, to freeze interest rates for at least another year, these students will be faced with another $1,000 in addition to what they're already facing. And it's really become a moral issue. When we turn over to our society, to these young people, they come out of school, if they face this kind of debt, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a year, it means they're less likely to buy a house, it means they're less likely to start a business, it probably means they're less likely to start a family. And do we want to do that to the generation of smart, young, enthusiastic, talented people instead of giving them a better launch for their lives in their 20s and 30s? And that's why it's essential we do this. And, Mr. President, this goes back to, and we actually, 2 years before the presiding officer came to the Senate in 2007, we passed this freeze. President Bush signed legislation that Senator Kennedy and I and others in the Health, Education, Labor, Pension Committee worked on to freeze these student loans interest rates for Stafford subsidized loans at 3.4%. But if we don't act, it was a 5-year freeze. If we don't act by July 1st, 2012, 5 years after we passed it, it's going to mean these loans are going to double. And again, it's $1,000 more per student. So I won't speak long. I just wanted to share a couple of letters that I've gotten from people in Ohio. And this doesn't just affect the students. It's some 380,000 college students in my state that it affects. But it doesn't just affect these students. It affects their families, their parents. Sometimes grandparents have sent us letters about how serious this is for them. And I'll read 2 letters. Jeff from Lorain happens to be my home county. I've been a lifelong resident of Lorain, Ohio. My daughter graduated top of her class from Southview, one of Lorain City High Schools, in 2008. She just graduated from Hiram College with a bachelor in math and a bachelor's degree in math and a minor in political science. She graduated cum laude. She maxed out her Stafford loans, and these help her to attend college. Jeff writes, I've worked in factories all my life, the last 20 years at Avon Lake Ford plant, a major employer in my county. So we're able to help some, because these are good union wage jobs. I don't know that he's in the union, but most of the people at Avon Lake are. But the major work was done by our daughter with her focus and her hard work. She's moving to grad school, but at some point she'll have to start repaying these loans. Do we want to burden these bright young minds with loan payments that are so large they will weigh them down financially for large portions of their young adult lives? Were these loans designed to help students who don't come from families with large disposable incomes? Or are they to be used as a way to make money off our young people trying to reach their potential? In addition to 5 years ago, in the last couple of years, one of the good things President Obama did about this was he helped people get into the federal loan, direct loan program, so they were no longer borrowing from banks at much, much, much higher interest rates. So college is too expensive. The states don't put enough money into colleges so that the colleges don't charge such high tuitions. Tuitions have gone like this over the years. But at least we were able to cut to make a big difference on interest. This is our chance to do it again. We shouldn't let Jeff down and his daughter down and others. The other letter I'll read is Marceline from Wilberforce. I'm 60 years old. I went back to school to get a job that would not continue to destroy my physical health. My previous jobs for companies like BP and Walmart were devastatingly hard on me with little or no medical help. I returned in hopes of obtaining employment that will position me to be gainfully employed for the next 15 or 20 years. I'm supporting my 2 grandchildren and my son while he tries to gain a degree of his own. I see no possibility of retiring before I die. I see no possibility of paying off my education before I die. This is a 60-year-old woman writing. When I started my education, I could justify the cost, but I've seen it go up. I've seen it going up yearly to the point I see no way of paying for it now, especially if interest rates continue to climb. I can't conceive how the young people will be able to repay their debts. I'm very concerned for them. This burden will place on them as they go forward is heartbreaking. Mr. President, this is the story. You'd hear it in Anchorage, you'd hear it in Fairborn, you'd hear it in Nome. I hear it in Toledo, I hear it in Lima, I hear it in Mansfield, I hear it in Sandusky. And it's incumbent upon us, it's a moral question, not to load up more debt on these young people so they can really develop their talents in a way that not only will help them individually, not only help their families, but will help our society prosper. We know what the GI Bill did in the 40s and 50s and 60s. It not only helped millions of servicemen and women and their families, it also lifted the prosperity of the United States of America. We owe this generation no less than that, Mr. President. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
call be vitiated?
Without objection.
Mr. President, I now ask we proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 607, the nomination of Andrew David Hurwitz of the state of Arizona to be United States Circuit Judge for the Ninth Circuit.
Without objection. Clerk will report.
Nomination, Andrew David Hurwitz of Arizona to be United States Circuit Judge for the Ninth Circuit.
Mr. President, I sent a cloture motion to the desk with respect to that nomination.
Clerk will report.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, hereby move to bring to a close the debate on the nomination of Andrew David Hurwitz of Arizona to be United States Circuit Judge for the Ninth Circuit, signed by 17 senators as follows. Reed of Nevada.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that reading the names be waived.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent the mandatory quorum under Rule 22 be waived, that at 4:30 on Monday, June 11th, there be 60 minutes, up to 60 minutes of debate on the motion to invoke cloture on the nomination equally divided between the two leaders or the designees. That upon the use or leaving back of that time, the Senate vote on the motion to invoke cloture on the nomination. Further, if cloture is not invoked on the nomination, the Senate resume legislative session and the motion proceed S 3240 be agreed to at 2:15 p.m. Tuesday, June 12th. Finally, if cloture is invoked, that upon disposition of the Hurwitz nomination, the Senate resume legislative session and the motion proceed at 3240 be agreed to.
Without objection.
Pass consent, we now resume legislative session.
Without objection.
I ask now, Mr. President, unanimous consent that we proceed to appear in morning business as allowed to speak for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Agriculture Committee discharge from further work on S 3261.
Clerk will report.
S 3261, a bill to allow the Chief of the Forest Service to award certain contracts for large tankers.
Is there objection to proceeding to the major?
I ask unanimous,
Without objection.
I ask unanimous
The
consent.
committee is discharged.
Thanks, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the bill be read a third time, passed, and most reconsidered be laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate. Any statements related to this matter appear in the record at the appropriate place as if given.
Without objection.
Mr. President, we just, less than a week ago, we had two pilots killed in Nevada fighting fires with one of these airplanes that just old. And I appreciate the work of the senators who worked so hard to get this done. This is an important piece of legislation. It will allow us to do a better job of fighting fires when we have these large air tankers new. The old ones are really old. I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of H.R. 5883, which was received the House and is at the desk.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 5883, an act to make a technical correction in Public Law